Hello, beautiful people. It's Karen here. I hope you are having a sublime day. Today, I'm at the house of my friend Brian. This is the friend that I told you about in a previous video that I got the peaches from, in which I made the amazing peach cobbler. Well, I'm here today celebrating his birthday with him. He's been asking me about mac and cheese for the longest. He's been saying, you've got to come over, you've got to show me how to make mac and cheese. So he just had a birthday. He just turned 21. So I am here and we are going to make mac and cheese. Say hello, Brian.
Hello, everybody.
So we're going to get started. We're going to go and I'm going to show you the ingredients that you need to make this amazing mac and cheese.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
As I said, I'm here with my friend Brian and I am celebrating his birthday. We are making mac and cheese. Brian has been asking me to come over and make mac and cheese with him for a while, and so I thought this was the perfect occasion. Now, when I make mac and cheese, I like lots of cheeses because I really want to know that I'm eating mac and cheese. So let's go over the cheeses that I am going to use in this. I'm using a mild cheddar. We're going with a sharp cheddar as well. We're going with a fontina, some mozzarella, and a Gruyere. Now, the reason we use both soft and hard cheeses in this is because that's what makes your mac and cheese really ooey and gooey and stretchy. So you always want to make sure that you add some soft cheeses in with the hard cheeses. Now, as far as the base, the base is going to be half and half and lovely, rich, heavy cream. And this is fattening, but that's okay. You're not eating this every day of the week. And then, of course, you want your elbow macaronis. Now, I use the large elbows because it is just, I just like them better as opposed to the small because it allows more of your mixture to get involved in your mac and cheese. So, large macaronis for this. You'll, of course, need butter because butter just makes everything better. And then the secret ingredient is a little bit of stone ground mustard. Stone ground mustard just gives your mac and cheese a depth of flavor that you don't get without it. So add some stone ground mustard. And those are your ingredients. Let's get started. Cheers. We've pulled out the food processor. We have placed the grating mechanism on it, and we are about to start grating our cheeses.
How much? You got. So can we put these?
Now you saw Brian grating all the cheese. He's grated the 4 cheeses with the exception of the mozzarella. So we grated the mild cheddar, the sharp cheddar, the fontina, and the Gruyere. We did not grate the mozzarella because that will go on the top of the mac and cheese, and that will give us a nice crispy crust. So now let's talk about the base. As I said before, the base is going to be half and half and heavy cream. It's going to be a bit difficult for me to tell you exact measurements for this because it depends upon the amount of mac and cheese you're making. But when you're making your base, you want to do about a 2.5 to 1 consistency. So you want 2.5 amounts of the half and half and heavy cream to the amount of cheese that you're adding to this because you want this mixture to be very moist when you put it in the oven, because that is going to make a very creamy and rich mac and cheese consistency. But I'll show you the amount of half and half and heavy cream that we will need once we start mixing it. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. We're starting with a quart of half and half. We're going to pour half of that into our pan. We may need to use a little bit more, but we're going to start with about a quart. We've got 16 ounces of heavy cream. We're going to add 8 ounces of that to our mixture. And we're going to heat that up. We're going to heat it before we add our cheeses. When you're heating your cream mixture, you want to heat this on low, because you do not want this to start to boil over, because then it might curdle. So you want to hit this very slow, and once it gets to a warmed consistency, you want to start adding your cheeses. We've got our 4 bowls of cheese, and when you're making mac and cheese, you want to make the sauce. That's why we're heating up the base. So what we're going to do is we're going to add half of each of these bowls of cheese. And when we do that, we're going to save half of the cheese, because half of the cheese we're actually going to layer in. But Brian is actually going to start adding half of each of these bowls of cheese into our mixture. You can move a little faster, Brian.
Well, I don't want to put too much in because it's hard to take out.
It's not precise. And we're going to heat this until our cheese actually starts to melt. And as you can see, we've got our water on for our pasta, and we're actually going to start our pasta pretty quickly, because this is not going to take an amazingly long time to finish. And we are using about a pound of pasta for this. This is the consistency that you want your base. You saw the amount of cheese we put in there, which was half of each of the bowls, but once it melts in your base of half and half and cream, it is actually almost as if it's non-existent. And the reason we reserved half of the cheeses is we're going to layer that with this cheese sauce. We've cooked our pasta, and typically when you cook pasta, you want to cook it al dente. You don't want to cook this quite al dente, because we're going to be baking this, and we're going to be baking it for 45 minutes. So you want to cook it just before it is al dente. The last ingredient that we're going to add to this mixture is stone ground mustard, and we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of the stone ground mustard to our mixture. We're going to incorporate that, and then we'll be ready to start our layering. Our pasta has been cooked. Once it was cooked, we actually added a half of a stick of butter to it so that it wouldn't stick, and it just makes it a little bit better once it's incorporating with the rest of your cheeses. So what we're going to do with the remaining stick of butter, we're going to take little dots, and we're going to put a little bit in the bottom of the pan, and then we're going to start layering the mixture. We're going to put a little bit of butter, and then we're going to layer pasta and cheeses. And this is without the mozzarella cheese, because the mozzarella is going to go on the top of the casserole once we've layered it. So Brian, why don't you start layering, and we'll show the people how we're going to do this.
Okay, what's going to be first?
So we're going to do a layer of the pasta first, and then we're going to do a layer of cheese. And we're going to get a little bit of each of the cheeses in each of the layers.
more over
A
here.
little bit more. Let's get the bottom of the pan completely filled.
Okay.
You probably add a little bit more. So that it's completely layered. Okay. And then let's do a little bit of each of the cheeses. Because don't you hate when you're eating mac and cheese and you get the top layer and it's cheesy, but then the bottom layers have no cheese? So that's just never good. So if you do this layering, you make sure that each of the bites of mac and cheese has some of each of the cheeses. And repeat. Brian is adding the last of our cheeses before we add our sauce to the top.
That'll be good with audio.
He's so delicate with everything. Okay, last of the cheeses. Now, the sauce that we made, because I'm sure you guys were asking what we were going to do with this base that we supposedly made. So after you've layered everything, now you want to pour this cheese mixture over it, because now it's going to incorporate from the top to the bottom and it's going to layer that cheese. So Brian, why don't you do the honors for that? Ooh, that's going to be really good. As you can see, this mixture is extremely wet, and that is exactly how you want it. You want there to be quite a bit of liquid, because this pasta, because it was not fully cooked, it was cooked just before it got to al dente, it is still going to soak up a lot of your mixture. And so you want it to soak up this heavy cream, half and half, and cheese mixture, because that's going to make your mac and cheese really, really tasty. Our last cheese is the mozzarella cheese, and as you see, we actually did not shred this. It doesn't necessarily shred very well, so I simply normally chop it into cubes. We're going to take the mozzarella and put this on the top of the casserole.
We're going to fill in the holes.
Yes, but I think we've got so much cheese it really won't matter.
I'm going to break this big boy up.
Okay. And we are ready to pop it into the oven. We're going to put this in our oven at 375, and we're going to bake this for 45 minutes. You do not want to cover this. You want to bake this uncovered for 45 minutes. Check it at about 30 to see how it's doing, and then we will see where we are. We have just pulled the mac and cheese out of the oven, and as you can see, it is nice and golden brown, and you can still see it bubbling. I bet you want a taste of that, don't you?
Glass of wine here.
Cheers.
Cheers. See, this is your behind the scene. We getting ready. See, your teeth is beautiful. You too.
So beautiful people, it is Karen here with my lovely friend Brian, and we are celebrating his birthday with this luscious mac and cheese. So make it and enjoy, and until we meet again, Think Sublime thoughts.